Brothers and sisters, we've finally upgraded the microphone. Today, we'll cover skills and concepts that every good player should know. We'll improve your micro and macro skills, as well as give you a process for buying and selling gear at good prices. I cannot possibly cover every topic on PvP, but this guide should be helpful. I sincerely hope you enjoy. There are two main reasons you will die in PvP in Dark and Darker. One, you got skill diffed, or two, you got gear diffed, although it could be a combination of the two. Getting skill diffed by someone means there is a skill difference. They had better skill than you, at least in that game, and they outplayed you. This can be done with micro skills, like the quality of your movement, or having good spacing. It can also be done with macro skills, like positioning, map knowledge, and game knowledge. Getting gear diffed by someone means there is a gear difference. They had better gear with better stat rolls, so they were literally stronger than you because of their gear, weapons, and consumables. They might have had more HP, more movement speed, more damage, they might take less damage, have access to better spells, attack faster, and they might have a ton of consumables which they can outlast you with. Luckily for you, you can improve yourself in both of these categories, and I'm going to teach you how in this video. If you still struggle with PvE, then you need to go back and watch this 3-part guide series that will teach you how to dodge every single mob in Dark and Darker, as well as teaching you basic skills in the game, some of which are helpful in PvP. Alright, let's start with improving in my favorite category, skill diffing. Here's an example of how damage is calculated in this game. New players don't need to understand the entire formula, but you should know the following basics. First are limb modifiers. The location that you hit a player or mob will modify the damage. The head is 150%, the body is 100% or normal, the arms are 80%, the legs are 60%, and the hands or feet are only 50%. Keep in mind that as you swing most weapons, your arms and hands will be extended in front of you and easier to hit. Don't swing wildly in a fight without aiming, because you really don't want to hit the hands of your opponent for very little damage. Next up are impact zones, which some players will call sweet spots and sour spots. Most weapons have impact zones. For the falchion, hitting with the blade does a full 100% damage. However, hitting towards the base and the handle only does 80% or 90%. The Morningstar has less forgiving impact zones. Hitting with the bald spike does 100% damage, while the entire shaft is only 80%. In general, you want to try to land with the sweet spot of your weapon while forcing your opponent to land in a not ideal spot. Alright, the last micro concept we will discuss is spacing. This is one of the most important skills in the game. In my opinion, spacing is the space between you and your opponent and your control of it. Move speed is incredibly important in this game. The person with better movement speed will generally be able to control the fight better. In this example, we are a fast rogue fighting a slow barbarian in heavy armor. Let's just imagine this is a 1v1. If he chooses to retreat, I will be able to catch him quickly and stop him. He cannot run unless I allow it. If he chooses to heal, I could just quickly close the distance. And finally, he cannot close the distance to me to melee attack me unless, again, I allow it, because I can just run away faster than him. So this is why having more speed generally gives you better control of the fight. Now let's show you some good spacing examples so you can see this concept in action. Please ignore the skills. This is a clip from last wipe when we had multi-classing, and it was a disaster because it wasn't well thought out. So as a budget stiletto rogue, I need to be in point blank range in order to get my damage out. However, as a longsword fighter, he has similar DPS and can two-shot me, but he has much better range, so I have to be careful. I pop both skills to strengthen myself and debuff him. However, I see him use Achilles Strike. If Achilles Strike lands on me, I will not be able to move and he will two-shot me. I will lose the fight. I dodge by making space and then turn around to try and get him while he closes the door. He jumps while swinging to maintain momentum. I make space to dodge, but I make sure to stay very close in order to bait him into continuing his combo. That gives me a brief moment to get in and finish him. In this clip, the Warlock's position is right on the edge of medium and long range. I would consider anything past him long range, and anything between me and him medium and close range. In general, you want to fight in the range that you are most effective, while denying the opponent the same luxury. Now the spacing for a ranged class, like Ranger, Warlock, or Wizard, looks a bit different. You always want to keep the enemy at medium to long range, with a few exceptions. Ranged classes will often shoot, turn around, back up, shoot, turn around, back up, and force melee classes to chase them, which can be annoying to play against, I understand. I still think ranged damage is too strong in this game because it's too valuable in way too many situations, and you're hitting way too high once you're geared. In this clip, we are playing a 200 gold budget ranger against a 5,000 gold rogue. We're in the Goblin Cave's loot room that is only accessible after killing both bosses. This room is a bad room for me to fight in because there's a lot of cover for him to utilize and close distance to me with. You'll notice I'm baiting him backwards into this long hallway. This is a warm-up game and I'm missing a bunch of shots, but it doesn't matter because as long as you land a few, ranged is OP. Unfortunately, he's a good player and he's landed a lot of shots, so I'm low. However, he's in the perfect position for me. He's in the middle of the room with no cover and he's pushing aggressively. It's time to turn it on. We land our shot, make a little space, and pop our ability for fast bow shots. We miss a shot but land the second, which means he's weakened and ready for the trump card, jumping multi-shot. Range damage is broken, boys. I'm sure you know that you can close out mobs and players with doors. However, let me show you the optimal way to do it. If you stand in the door frame or past it like this, then that is bad. A good player will still be able to get inside the door and room with you. Instead, what you want to do is stay a little bit away from the door as you close it so that you are body blocking the player behind you. This is how you want to shut the door. Now it's going to depend on your class. If you're a bit slow, you'll need to stand closer. Here, I don't make it in because I'm slow. If you're fast, you can stand further. If you are dying a lot, then maybe you should consider your map pathing. For example, let's imagine we are an ungeared solo player on Goblin Cave's HR who wants to farm gold and avoid fights. In this situation, I would recommend staying on the outer modules of the map because they are less busy. These two modules are usually busy due to bosses, and this center module is busy due to being in the center, having an elevator extract, and having cobalt nodes. Any module with a triple blue portal could also be busy towards the end. If our solo player spawned here, then I'd suggest clearing the room and farming, and then moving on to the next room. Here we have an extract, so we'll clear the room and remember this location for later. We'll continue to open doors behind us and go on to the next room. We'll continue farming until we're full, and then we'll go back to our extract we had. As you path through the map, generally you will want to have open doors behind you. This allows you space to retreat, and you can shut the doors on any enemies chasing you. This should give you time to run or prepare for a fight. So, how can we improve our chances at not getting gear diffed? First, let me show you a basic and quick process for selling. Let's say we want to sell this epic Fox Pendant. It has 2 good rolls and 1 dead roll, or a really weak roll. So, we'll start with what we think is the most expensive roll, which is +1 additional physical damage. Usually, you want to select the rarity as well. You can see the cheapest to buy here are ones with dead rolls besides additional damage. So, this gives us an idea of the potential floor price of the item. But we need to make sure physical power isn't more valuable. Now we deselect additional damage and we pick physical power. Here, you'll notice we found a good deal. +3 physical power should be more expensive, not this cheap. So if we wanted, we could buy it and sell it at a profit. But anyways, for our purposes, it seems the floor for +1 physical power is 350 to 400 gold. So let's add both of these good rolls and let's see what the floor is now. As you can see, both rolls are good and the floor price is about 700 gold. We could price ourselves towards the bottom to sell quickly at this point. However, for expensive items, I do like to do one more check. Deselect the rarity and check if there are any similar items at rarities above or below. Now you can see we could get a Fox Pendant with 1 less agi but 1 more physical power for only 450 gold. There's even a +3 at 500 gold, which I would argue is better than what we have. This 700 gold pendant hasn't sold in 5 days, which does give me an idea of the price ceiling. I'd say our pendant is currently worth anywhere from 500 to 700 gold. If you want to price it lower, you can get a faster sell, or you can price it higher for a better profit. Now, there are a lot of exceptions to this process, and the market will fluctuate a lot depending on many different factors. But this should give you a basic understanding and process to save and make more gold than before. We can use this same process to buy items as well. Let me show you the weapon buying process, because I know as a new player I made some mistakes here. Let's say we want to buy a falchion for our fighter. Starting at uncommon grade, you can see that these are very cheap at 30 to 35 gold. Please note that most weapons have a range of weapon damage within a single rarity grade, So you always want to set the static attribute to weapon damage. You can see a 38 weapon damage falchion is about 30 to 35 gold. Now let's move on to rare. We can get a 40 damage falchion for about 60 to 65 gold. Pretty good price for a great weapon. Moving to epic quality, we can get a 42 damage falchion for about 160 to 170 gold. Now let's double check for good deals. We go back to rare and this time search for additional weapon damage. So for a falchion, the max roll is 1, but some big weapons will have plus additional 2 weapon damage. So a 41 damage falchion here is about 100 gold. With all this information, we can now make an informed decision. We can choose a weapon depending on our budget. You'll notice as the damage gets higher, the gold per weapon damage value gets worse, and this is true for most things. We can also consider damage rolls on our weapons, like physical damage bonus, physical power, or even armor penetration. Keep in mind, the stats on your weapon only apply when you're holding them out. So, for example, a Morning Star with magical healing is useless to a Cleric. And the magical penetration here only applies to something like Smite when we have our weapon out. Please consider liking and commenting if you like this content, it helps a lot. Also sub if you're looking for more. I've been having a ton of fun skill diffing the gear differs with 200 gold kits. So that might be the next video, gameplay, and a guide. Brothers and sisters, as always, good luck in the dungeons. NotLikeThis, out.